Hold on, it's not great.
Oh,
Let's see,
I don't
there
know.
we go.
Hello.
There we go.
Good morning, everybody. Hey, I appreciate the time. Take a few minutes to talk to you guys. Really wanted to cover, obviously, you know, we're Red Rhino Roofs. We added the and solar part recently. There's been a lot of questions about solar. It's very new to our market. You go back 2 years ago, there was 50 systems installed in Douglas County. Last year, there's over 600. So it's in the amount of permits filed this year tells us we're probably looking at 1,500 to 2,000 systems installed now this year. So it's going to become a big deal in your guys' arena. Obviously, the people look at Nebraska and go, oh, solar doesn't make sense, but it does. Nebraska is a 1-for-1 net metering state, meaning if you produce excess solar or excess energy in the summer months, you can get the energy back in the off months at no additional cost. Now we're not the government, they won't buy the electrical company won't buy your electricity back at any high rate. I think it's like 10 or 15 cents on the dollar above and beyond that. Hi, Ricky. Above that. But it does make a lot of sense. There's a 30% tax credit that the government has, and that's a tax credit. It's not a deduction. So it's dollar for dollar, $30,000 system. You're getting $9,000 back at the end of the year off your taxes. The other effect is a lot of people got questions. How does it affect your HOAs? Some states like Missouri has already passed it to where the HOA doesn't have say on whether you can install a solar system or not. That's gonna continually become an issue or become a factor. But a lot of, if you look around town, there's a lot of HOAs that are already allowing solar systems. So the other thing people ask is, well, how does that affect the insurance on a house? From what we can tell and talking to insurance companies thus far, it doesn't have any effect on insurance cost. They look at it as, well, if the house gets hit with hail, as an example in our market, you're going to replace the solar system or you're going to replace the roof, one or the other. And then also, how does it affect the value of the house? Traditionally, you're looking at solar systems increasing the value of the house anywhere from 3 to 6%. You know, the average solar system in the average house here is probably 7 kilowatts. So you're looking at probably a $30,000-$40,000 system. So you're looking at basically a wash on the cost of the system for most homes. And other than that, you know, we still, when another factor comes to understanding when you're putting a solar system on your house, you can't go off the grid here in our market. You can obviously eliminate your electrical bill with the solar system. A lot of the systems that we're bidding out and installing are at 101 to 106% of usage. So literally, these folks will not have a electrical bill when we're done with their systems, but they will still pay a connection fee to stay connected to the grid because you have to. And a lot of times that, I think that in Douglas County is 30 or 35 bucks. So obviously with the increasing cost of electricity, you know, you continually 4 or 5% appreciate or increase. Thank you. Good thing you're here today. Yeah, I didn't have that yet. Monster. So you take control of the cost of your electricity. You no longer have the increasing cost of electricity to worry about. And the systems that we install, our panels are manufactured by REC. To us, we went with those guys because it's the best looking panel on the market. That's obviously another factor. You drive around and see some of these systems that people put on their houses. They got to drive home to that every day. So we're pretty anal about making sure the systems look great. And that's one of the things we're talking about HOAs about is if you're going to have it, you don't want 16 different type of systems installed in your neighborhood. So we're having conversations with HOAs, at least requiring certain manufacturers of panels so that everything has a similar look. So if you are in an HOA or on an HOA board, that is one consideration to take into consideration. And I said consideration a lot there, didn't I? Yeah, thanks. Anybody got any questions directly about solar? Because I don't have much time. I just thought that. Any questions? Don't make fun of me.
Would you guys find it helpful if we did a like a continuing ed class where you guys could come in for about an hour and explain solar, and you guys, who would come to a class if we did a solar class? Okay. well, maybe we'll just set up a class where
Yeah,
You
that'd be
guys come
great.
in.
Yeah. And if you guys got any questions, we're 24/7. You got, I mean, obviously in the roofing world, if you need a roof looked at, before you're gonna be listing a house, got buyers. We're generally out there within 2 hours. I mean, we're that kind of a response to you guys. Been in the real estate world a long time for those guys who don't know. We also have Inspectix home inspections and red termite. So anything you do for us, greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep, and we appreciate him being the breakfast sponsor. So if you guys didn't grab it.
Yeah, go eat them damn rolls.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So, thank you, John. All right. Well, Vince is gone for spring break, so I know there's spring break and then the Nebraska Real Estate Commission or the convention going on now. So we're gonna kick it off with a video. This is probably Kevin Brown is probably the best. I've been to quite a few conventions, and this is probably the best keynote speaker I've ever heard. So I'm excited for who all went to convention that's here. Okay, quite a few. So who went to convention and actually watched Kevin Brown? Okay, most yeah. It's kind of hit and miss who showed up for those. So all right, let's hit the lights and then we'll go ahead and play this video.
Magical because when you go there, you're to tell you this story, I'm going to introduce you to my son. His name is Josh Brown. If you met him, he would tell you his name is Josh Brown. He thinks it's hyphenated all one word. Josh has autism. We've known that since he was a little bitty guy. When he was 7 years old, he discovered Walt Disney World. If you don't think all about autism, you know, when you see something on their brain, this is what they're going to do this little way. For 2 years, this kid obsessed about Disney. They drew him out of the way and they had him put a line of sinker. When he got to the Disney boat, they didn't need a net. The boy jumped in the boat. For 2 years, Dad, I want to go to Disney. Dad, please, 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 when are we going to Disney? We waited until he was 9 years old. We wanted to make sure he could enjoy the trip and wasn't so overwhelming. Packed our bags, we got our list, we took off. We got to Orlando 4 hours ahead of our luggage. Bright and early the next morning, we got up. It's Josh Brown, where we eating breakfast. He said, Dad, reading in this hotel, really easy to do it. No lines, no trams. Smart boy, knows his father very well. We head out. Now I'm going to make a confession. I told Lisa that I would work on this trip. I did not promise that I would attend this and was happy that it did. I'm in the people business. My clients are in the people business. I'm at the customer experience mecca of the entire world. I want to know, how do they do what they do? How do they draw you in and make you feel special? Create magic over and over again. How do they get stuff on your wallet and make you feel good about it? Radar's up. I'm paying attention. Down the escalators, we get to the restaurant. Hostess greets us with a giant smile. Welcome, Brown family. We're so glad that you're here. We have a table. They give that little giant smile. We're very, very sorry. Brown family, we love the sound of our own nation. Table is for us. Takes us to our table, hands us menus, takes 2 steps back into the Brown day. May I be the first to wish you. She leaves, the waitress comes over, waitress has no expression. Waitress looks a little bit ticked off. She comes over and looks at Lisa and says, can I get you something? Lisa says, you can, but I need to tell you my son's on a very special diet. Lots he can have, lots that he can't have. And before she could say another word, the waitress put her hand in Lisa's face. Said, ma'am, I need to stop you right there. You're gonna need to speak to me. She disappeared. And now I'm ticked off. I have a boatload of money wrapped up in this trip. I have a few expectations. Smiling is one of them. If you could whistle while you work, I'd greatly appreciate that a lot. From the back of the room, from the back of the restaurant, the executive chef eats the spot, big white coat, giant chef Boyardee. She comes out and she looks right at Josh Brown. She says, good morning, he lowered his head and said, good morning. She said, my name is B. I understand somebody on a special diet. How can I help? She takes a notebook out and she starts writing down everything Lisa said I can have. Then she starts asking questions. What's in that? I've never heard of that. How do you get, where do you make that? I don't understand. How about this? What's his thing? She gets done. She puts her notebook away. She says, okay, something I need breakfast. Apple pancakes, please. He said, sunshine, I'm so sorry. I don't have the ingredients. Mom told me how to make them. I don't have so. But some bacon and eggs. He nodded. She left. His personality did not have the rest of our order. We ate. We left. We were completely satisfied. There's an important point I want to make about being satisfied. A great friend of mine, her name is Kelly Swanson. She said, nobody notices normal. Nobody notices normal. Nobody notices when the members of partners are satisfied. Satisfaction doesn't even get you the ticket to the dance. People at home, they don't care about being satisfied. Satisfaction is what every organization on the planet is paying. Don't you want to visit as an ambassador for the brand? Satisfaction doesn't get you a ticket to the dance. Think about this for a minute. When was the last time you went to a fast food restaurant, got your food, raced home, kicked open the door, said, "Baby, you're not gonna believe it today. Finally got it my way." Into it. Josh Brown, where are we eating breakfast? Dad, I want to go see Aunt B. Who? I looked at Lisa and she said, B. He said, Dad, I want to go see Aunt B. I said, brother, we got a spreadsheet. He said, Dad, I want to go see Aunt B. Guess where we went? Okay, we're on our way. Down the escalators. We have no reservation to get to the restaurant. Hostess greets us with the same giant smile. Welcome back, Brown family. No reservation. No problem. We have a table. I'm sure. Takes us to the exact same table we were at the day before. This is working our section. And she still hadn't got the menu. I mean, she saw that it was us. Didn't come to the table. She went to the back of the restaurant. I'm thinking, surely during orientation, somebody told her she works at the happiest place on earth. From the back of the restaurant, Aunt B. She comes out making a beeline to our table. She says, "Good morning, sunshine," to which I promptly said, "Good morning." She said, "I'm not talking to you." Hey, sunshine, what's for breakfast? Apple pancakes, please. You got it, baby. Coming right in. Time out, Aunt B. You remember us from yesterday? Yes, sir, I did. Aunt B, yesterday you did it, sir. Why are you calling me Aunt B? The fair question. Sorry, family thing. B, yesterday you didn't have the stuff. True. Today you do? Yes. Where did you get it? The store. You sent someone to the store. No, sir. I stopped on my way home. We have them all over Florida. Anybody can go. I looked at this woman. I asked her probably the dumbest question I've ever asked anybody in my life, and I've asked a lot. I looked at her and I said, "Why would you do that?" Profound answer. I thought that's what you want. Let me make a note. Give the customer or member partner what they want, whether we serve it or not. Yes.
All right, you want to hit the lights? I got to tell you, I mean, I haven't cried for a presentation. I mean, this was just a small snippet of what a 45-minute presentation was. I know that some people from the panel will probably talk about some of the things that he said, but just to kind of piggyback off that story. If you didn't hear, I know you guys couldn't hear in the back, but their son had autism. So they waited till he was, well, 9 till he could go. But what happened is they ended up keeping in contact with Aunt B for like 10, 12 years until, so let's even start before that. So when he was going to go to school, they were sitting around a table with teachers and doctors and saying, "Hey, you know, just to let you know that your son he'll get to go through school, but he'll graduate, but he'll get a special education graduate degree with a little asterisk, and it won't be it'll be a special education degree." And the parents were like, "No, that's not going to be my kid." You know what I mean? And so Mama Bear came out and stuff like that and said, "Hey," did whatever it took. And then the son actually graduated from high school with honors. And so their parents are super proud of him, things like that. And so they asked him, "So what do you want to do?" He's like, "Well, I want to go back to Disneyland or Disney World." And so they go back to Disney World, 10, 12 years later. They go to the restaurant that Aunt B's working at, and huge line. And so he makes his way up to the front. He said some guy was in the front just trying to jockey him from not getting in front of him and stuff like that. He went up and he says, "Hey, we know the chef. Is there any way we can get in here?" He goes, "Well, we can't cut you in front of the line. The best we could do is give you this beeper. You maybe can get in probably about an hour and a half or so like that." He goes, "You sure? We're really good friends with the chef," things like that. He's like, "No, that's all we can do." And he goes, "Well, if you could do me a favor, could you just tell him that the Apple Pancake family is here?" And the guy just kind of lit up and he's like, "The Apple Pancake family?" He goes, "Hold on one second." And so he runs and grabs this guy, and another guy then takes him and says, "Hey, follow me." And so it was funny because the guy in the front was pretty happy about, where his position in the front of the line to get the next seat. Well, so they're getting led through the restaurant, and he looks back, he goes, "It wasn't my proudest moment," but he looked back and stuck his tongue out at the guy at the front of the line. But they make their way, they get to a table. Chef B comes out, you know, they haven't seen each other for the 10 or 12 years, even though they've kept in contact over that whole time. And sat down and he asked, he goes, so what's, you know, we mentioned, you know, the Apple Pancake family. And what changed? She goes, well, when you guys were here last, we started the Apple Pancake program where with all your dietary restrictions and things like that, we needed to add that to what we did through all of our restaurants through Disney. And so we've served over 1 million kids with dietary restrictions and stuff ever since your family had came. And so I can't tell it as eloquently as that guy, but it was just an awesome story. And there's probably a ton more that we'll have on our panel as well. But before we get started with that, we'll have Heather come up, give some updates. So I don't forget to I talked to Maggie, she's on spring break, an update on KV Core. So they are delayed because we were going to start with a pilot program with just about 40 or 50 people. So we're still trying to do that. She's working through an MLS issue. That's all that's holding it up. As soon as we get one more MLS approved, then they can run the pilot program. She's hoping to have that ready by the end of the week or beginning of next week. And then it'll push the rollout to everybody probably just to the end of this month. So that's kind of an update on KV Core. So everything's ready. We're just waiting on an MLS.
Perfect. I think she had first said that we'd be all rolled out by the mid of April, but it's
Yeah,
probably gonna be pushed
it's-
back a couple weeks for that.
Yep.
So, morning, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. So we, in our past mastermind groups this last couple of months, we had everyone watch like the explosion videos with Andrew Undrum and a few others. So that kind of sparked the interest of the resource center because a lot of people didn't know where to find information in the resource center. So Shelly Novotny has come into a lot of our classes, taught some information. So if you guys don't know where you can find a lot of the marketing materials for your listing presentations or buyers, make a one-on-one or go to one of our classes because there were a ton of useful tools that we found in that presentation from Shelly, which also kind of led us to another discussion, which is dotloop. So if you guys do not know that in dotloop, there is a section when you click on a text box called add a phrase. It will help you with your contracts because the market is picking back up again. We are needing to add floors in for appraisal gaps, escalation clauses, adding proof of funds, stuff of that nature. And if you, for some reason, can't get a hold of like one of us managers, those phrases are already filled out and in dotloop for you. So all you have to do is click on the button and it will automatically auto-populate how to fill out seller's closing costs paid, buyer's closing costs paid, escalation clauses, appraisal gaps, all that stuff there. I was kind of surprised that we hadn't had so many people that knew it was already there for you. So it was kind of an aha moment for a lot of our masterminds. And we wanted to make sure that everyone knew that those tools are there for you to use. And if you don't know where they're at, ask one of us and we can make sure we can point them out for you. Also, the market is picking back up. The inventory is down a little bit, but existing homes are up. I did a poll this morning for existing and new construction homes in Douglas and Sarpy County. We're at 1,032 homes. For existing only, we have 307. And completed new construction, there's 174. So the actual new construction has gone down a little bit for numbers. And then the existing has come up a little bit. So there are a few more houses out there, but the market is still crazy. So make sure you guys are writing your best offers for your buyers. And if you don't know how to do so, ask one of us and we can help you.
Yeah, and I think anybody, the big thing is kind of a tale of three different markets that we have, kind of that under 350 to 400. We're seeing where it was going 3 to 5 different multiple offers. Now we're seeing maybe 8 to 15 is what we're hearing from people in that price range. And then that 400 to 950 has been a little bit sluggish. Maybe they're depending on the house, you might see some multi-offer, but for the most part, we're hearing price reductions or a little bit slower days on market, a little bit longer.
Making sure you have that house prepped properly before you put it on the market, and that price point is going to be extremely important for you. So,
Yep. And then over 1 million, we're still hearing busy. I mean, I think even like we've talked to Amy before too, and other people that, you know, they're going and competing and, you know, competing against other offers. You might be at a 1.6 and competing and things like that. So it's just been a really weird market. It reminds me of a market like 3 or 4 years ago. We always kind of had 3 tiers of a market. So,
and I feel like we repeat ourselves a lot with this, but just so you know, if you guys have a listing coming up, either do a broker exclusive and lock it in or put it in no-show status, because right now with social media, people are finding out that your people are getting ready to sell their houses on Nextdoor, Facebook, whatever, and they're going and getting a hold of them without you. And these houses are selling without us. So if you have a listing coming up that you spent money for staging, to send somebody in to measure the house, even if you've gone in and spent a couple hours with them, get it locked down, do a broker exclusive, no show something to make sure that someone can't sell it out from underneath of you, because that's kind of the market we're back in again under that 350 price point. So just take care of yourselves and make sure that doesn't happen to you. So thank you, everybody.
Yep. And then like that too, the other one thing that people aren't aware of, that what she was talking about, the marketing material with Andrew Undum is a forever agent. And so again, make sure you reach out because there's tons of cool stuff that they have and they're going to continue to expand that. But then there's also like, if you go under marketing resource, and then click on social media, there's one called Sochi, which is a whole brand new social media platform that they'll post things on your behalf. And then you can add things on your own too. And there's analytics behind that. So if you haven't explored that, see Shelley, go to a class and there's training on that as well. We're going to go ahead. Oh, wait, let me look. Maggie told me to help you guys get prepared. If you're wondering to know what you could do to get ready, she said, make sure their photo and contact information is correct in the resource center. There are a lot who it's wrong for, and then work on an Excel or CSV file for your contacts. And they're going to email a template to Aaron with the notes from this meeting on how to put that Excel spreadsheet. So that's a couple of things that you could do over the next couple of weeks, and we'll IT and all of us will help you guys with that. So well, we have a panel, so we're going to go ahead and get our first panel up. We have Amy, Kevin. Oh, yeah. Yep. I forgot about those. All right. Hit the lights again. We have, so at the, every year they have kind of a new marketing, spin that they do. And then, so these were the commercials that they showed at the keynotes.
Forever Agent sold our place so effortlessly.
We really lucked out.
Yeah. Oh, look. Maybe a little bit more brown. Selling a home is easy if you have the right agent. Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. We love this community.
It basically sold our house for us.
Yeah, some good stuff. You guys gonna love it. Food is spectacular. And so many great trails around here. Selling a home is easy if you have the right agent. Berkshire Hathaway Home Services.
Our forever agents have been amazing.
Selling our house has been so easy. Fire.
Should have worked out somehow.
I think this is over you. Right here.
Selling a home is easy if you have the right agent. Berkshire Hathaway Home Services.
All right. I think those are it, right? All right. So they went with kind of a funnier spin on those on the forever agent. So those are all on the marketing resource center as well. Hit that. Thank you. Thanks for showing that. Okay. We'll bring up the panel again. Amy, Kevin, Ty, Stephanie, and Renee. We'll start with you guys. Kevin. There he is. And then remind me too, I think, Ty, was it your first time going or second? Okay. So is it anybody else's first time on the panel? I can't remember. I mean, I'm sure you guys have been. Okay. Well, perfect. Well, we'll start off again. We were just looking for their best takeaways. So they had a ton of, if you haven't been, we always, in the morning, they always do presentations and then like a keynote and awards. And then in the afternoon, they have a lot of university sessions. A lot, we're on video and branding, social media. So we were just wanted to get people's key takeaways. We'll start with Ty. And let me know what was a key takeaway that you had or a class that you went to.
One of the first classes I went to was First Steps Towards YouTube Domination. And that was taught by Nick Nihas. He went over just some things that I think the most important takeaway for me was when you're doing YouTube, he says record one statement 3 times. The first one normal, the second one excited, and the third one infomercial style. And he said, you'll be surprised by which statement you like more, and that's the energy you put into your video. He said also focus on YouTube Shorts. You don't need a lot of equipment. He recommends a lapel mic and to have it 5 to 7 inches from your mouth, using direct sunlight and a clean background. And he just said the main thing with YouTube is just to be consistent.
And did he say what consistency meant? Like how many posts or?
I think he, and I'm not sure, I might mix up 2 YouTube people, but he said it took him, took 84 videos to get 100 subscribers in business. So don't ever quit. Just have to be consistent.
Okay, perfect. Renee?
All right. How many people had sciatic nerve problems in Vegas? It's a walk, isn't it? It's a walk. Yay. No, I actually felt like, gosh, I couldn't get into some of the ones I really wanted to get into, like the one with the get 5 listings in one.
Oh, Sherry Johnson.
month.
Yeah, she was one of the popular ones.
Yeah, but anyway, I love the video content one because I love to put videos up, and I get a lot of people, even if they don't view it right then, they'll come back and just kind of get back in the DM or what have you, or ask me questions. So that's really cool. I went to Jimmy Burgess, 23 video content ideas for 2023, and I felt like he had some good stuff there. So a couple of the takeaways, and I always like to put my stuff on my phone. 7 things you should know about Omaha, Nebraska, or even Douglas County and Sarpy County before you move here. Or 7 things you should know before you sell your home in Douglas or Sarpy County. Also, 5 things people hate about living in your city. But he said, if you're going to put a spin on it, because you always get the negative people and they're gonna like, oh yeah, here's a negative video. Let me look at that. But he said, put a spin on it and say, yeah, we have the winter and then 2 weeks and then summer. But we can put a spin and say, hey, but we get to have, beautiful winters, and Christmas, it always snows, and yay, that kind of thing. So 3 most popular neighborhoods in your city, and how much will $500,000 buy in your city? So I thought he had some really interesting video concepts to put out there, and I'll be trying some. So
Yeah, and if nobody knows Jimmy Burke, we actually get an email, like I think once a week from him anyways, with a lot of these ideas and stuff. So if you see his name come across, he's out of Florida. Great videos. They're usually under 10 minutes. Yeah. Did you meet him when you were down there?
I did, yeah.
Nice,
actually. Then
yeah.
We were down there last week and didn't get a chance to meet him, but did a selfie with him and sent it to Sean.
Yeah, nice. Nice. Yeah, he was supposed to be our keynote speaker last time for Explosion, but then his best friend or his best friend's wife passed away and couldn't make it. So anything else, or we'll come back to you.
yeah.
So, all right, Kevin.
I'm gonna kind of tag on that a little bit because I was actually in Jimmy's class too. So like the 23 video content ideas. One thing is provide value. And then when you're on your video, be authentic. Put them in your stories because stories are real. People see that and they watch that. And with your title, create curiosity because that's what's going to grab their attention. And then for the videos, kind of like when you're doing videos, here's what X will buy you. You could do different price points because it's whoever you're working with, that's what you want to reach out to. And then tools for editing. And I know Nico does this too, is the CapCut videos, you can do that right on your phone. Or if you're working on your desktop, I use Filmora and it works really good. Tools for scripting your video. Use Chat GPT, and I know Google's got their new product out there. Brad, I think it's called, so I'm actually starting to use that.
Who's using Chat GPT in here now? Who's not heard of it before? Okay, just a few. Okay, again, it's just an AI. It's awesome. If you ever go out, it's free, and then now it seems like a lot of companies are picking it up and piggybacking off of them, where it can write your listing descriptions and things for you. So.
Also natively posting, don't share links, so don't share a link from YouTube over to Facebook because Facebook doesn't like it, the algorithms. The other class that I liked was I went to how to generate 5 listings every month. It's really important your signage. You want your signage to be visible so people can see it. Adjust listing cards and also have the mindset, think of it and it comes into existence. So.
Awesome. Stephanie?
Okay, so I also took Jimmy
Okay.
Burgess, but I won't talk about him as much. I'll skip over him because I feel like y'all have already discussed him enough. Which he was great, by the way, so kudos to him. But I also went to Chelsea, I think it's Pete's, P-I-E-T-T. And she was really great. Her class was what to post and creating captivating content. I took a lot of social media classes and videos because I know that that's somewhere I lack. So something that she talked a lot about was helping with your personal branding and how to stand out. And she was basically saying like a lot of people have multiple excuses, and some of the excuses people use are, I hate how I look or I hate how I sound. And I know I personally say that all the time. So when I do my little videos, I'm always like, oh no, I can't use that. I hate this. I hate how I look. I hate this angle. I hate how I sound. And she was basically kind of like, just get out of your head. It doesn't matter. Just post it. People are going to come back and they just want that originality of like just being you and being in front of your camera. Just get it out there. Another one is like, I'm a private person. I don't know what to say, or maybe something that would resonate with our newer people is I'm not an expert. I'm still really new. I don't know what to say. And she was just kept going on and on about, it doesn't matter, just get it out there. You don't have to be an expert, just find something to talk about. It doesn't even have to be real estate, it can just be anything really. And another thing that she was talking about were the 3 C's and how we can fix this. So with video equals confidence, Facebook and Instagram stories is conversion, and then short form vertical is to captivate. And how to make better videos. Don't rely on music. That was one big thing she was saying is like, people always want to put music in all their videos, and yeah, like don't get caught up in that moment. Use your voice. So make sure you're using your own voice and not I'm sure you all watch like TikTok or you get on these reels and you hear other people's voices. And she was saying, don't do that. Just use your voice. People want to hear what you have to say and they want to get familiar with your voice. And then 0 to 1 seconds matter. So when you're doing a video and you have something else happening in those 0 to 1 seconds, you're losing your audience. So say what you need to say, get your audience going in that 0 to 1 seconds, or otherwise you're going to lose your audience. And then another big thing that resonated with me are hashtags. And I know a lot of people are guilty of hashtags because I'm always looking on like Facebook or something. And I'm like, God, what are these people hashtagging about? Like, you're losing me here. And that's a big thing she was saying too, is like with hashtags, you should only use 3 hashtags. And your first hashtag should always be your most relevant hashtag. And then if you don't have 3 relevant hashtags, then don't use them. So it has to be relevant to what you're posting about.
Perfect. And then just so she might be a good one to follow. The way that her name is spelled Chelsa and then Peitz. So when she was talking about that 0 to 1 second, I went to that class too. It's just because people are scrolling like that. So you really, if you go to her site, it's a good way as an example of how she's using either words on like to stop you in the tracks in that 0 to 1 second to actually click on that post. Because if you don't have something to do that, what she was saying is a lot of people, you know, when video first came out, it was really popular to do like these 6-second, like cool intros to your brand and things like that. And she's just saying you can't do that anymore. You can't,
Right.
they're not going to stick around that 6 seconds for that to finish and then get into that content. So.
Yeah, and like part of the things that she was saying too, like, what do you want to share? She's like, you can even do like a behind the scenes, like if you're getting a listing ready or something like that, just, you know, take a little video of like, hey, this is what I'm doing to get this listing ready, or hey, I'm gonna, you know, one of the videos she showed was somebody was like painting a house or cleaning out the yard or whatever, and you can just show different videos. Maybe that was on her Instagram or something that I saw. And then also another thing too, that she talked about, like asking questions. So to like the audience and just, or taking polls, just to kind of get them engaged throughout.
Perfect. Amy?
Okay, when I was trying to figure out who to go to, I kind of was looking at their credentials. And I've heard of Alan Dalton before, but I've never heard him speak. So here, I chose him because he's the Senior Vice President of Research and Development for Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. And he's the former CEO of Realtor.com, a former president and owner of a 60 office brokerage, a member of the RIS Media Hall of Fame, and named by the National Association of Realtors as one of the industry's 25 most influential thought leaders. He also was a former Boston Celtics draft, who specializes in helping real estate agents and team leaders become more competitive and win. So I thought, all right, I like to hear what this guy has to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He speaks big words, you know.
Yeah, he was good. So I learned he's the creator of the Forever Agent. So if you go onto the resource center and go to the marketing resource, the 3 tabs of market a property, market you, whatever, there's a long thin line at the top that says Forever Agent marketing materials. He basically, his messages were, don't treat your business like a business, access people by what matters to them. And that they've designated kind of like, October is like Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and all these different months are designated. Well, June of 2023 is Real Estate Planning Month. So a good time to update your database, reach out to an excuse to reach out to your sphere. There was a guy that stood up and he had created this, he was like in Boston, and he had created this huge billboard that said 2023 is Real Estate Planning Month. And he had gotten like 10 calls off of that. Like, well, what do you mean by that? So, which is creating a CMA and all of that, and just planning for their future of their real estate stuff. So he was I went to 2 different things of Alan Dalton, but Gino was one of the keynote speakers. And what I really picked up from Gino that I didn't know about, he told this long story of his father and him starting in real estate and all of that. And he was like he was so motivated by knowledge. So anything that was involved in real estate, I mean, there was a tax code book that was like the size of a phone book. His doctor was selling his business building, and they were talking about a 1031 exchange, and Gino was new into the business and didn't know what that was. So he went and bought the tax code book that like an accountant would use, and he read the entire tax code and came back to his doctor and said, I can show you how to save $150,000. And in turn, he eventually sold this doctor 3 homes and now has been his realtor for like 25 years. So he talked about, you know, that knowledge is power, and that there's so many aspects of the business, not just what we do, but, you know, the lender part, the accounting part, all of that. So that resonated with me. And then, of course, my favorite speaker was Kevin Brown.
Nice. Yeah.
And what I liked about what Kevin Brown said is, you never know when one small word or gesture makes a difference in someone's life, because everybody is dealing with something. So.
Perfect. And then one of the big things that they were pushing, like kind of with Gino and stuff, was that with the way that the market's changing now, it's going to be the people that increase their skills, and then the consistency of what you do. And that's what he was driving home with, you know, how much he was studying the market and the tax code and what he can do to help be that forever agent and create the skills to help their clients. And so we'll run through one more time. you want anything else? We'll just start back with you again. Was there anything else that you want to mention
You know, the
about
other-
Kevin Brown or?
The other class I went to was the Google business page. You know, I've used Google 30 times a day at least, and I was like, do I even have a Google business page? So I Googled myself. And a couple things come up, but I need to expand that, create a profile. And then the lady talked about all of the search engine optimization with different things that you do on your Google business page. So that's on my list to do.
Yeah, and in that class, the biggest thing I took away from that, because it was one of the things that they talked about was just, if you don't have a Google business page, you should get one. We've been talking about that for probably over a year, and that's where you should probably be getting testimonials as well. But the one takeaway I had from her was that you should be posting 6 to 8 articles a month from there, and then 6 to 8 new photos a month also. So that consistency of doing that. So, thanks, Amy. Stephanie? Did I take yours?
Took the Google business class, because the other class I was in, was boring, so I left it. So I left that class and I went to the Google business class, and I do have a Google business page, but I don't know, sorry, just a talker over here.
You
Um,
fell off the stage.
I actually left because the speaker, he fell off the stage, and so. And he was okay, he popped right back up, and he was rolling with it. So.
Gumby, damn it.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So crazy. Yeah. Happy Thursday dinner. Maybe he has a crazy night, I don't know. But it's always a good refresher, I guess, too, because I didn't know about the whole, like, you know, making sure you have the 8 articles, posting, make sure you have the pictures posted. I usually try to get my reviews through Google. I am awful at it, I will tell you that. So I was like, this is probably a really good refresher, you know, just one of those things to keep in the back of your mind. And then I also went to a LinkedIn class. I think Heather was there with me. He went really, really fast. So I'm gonna be honest, I didn't understand half of what he said. I took a lot of photos to go back and review. But I, for one, am not one that normally would think of LinkedIn as being a place where I would probably post a lot to get business necessarily, because I always think of LinkedIn as just being more of like, this is my more professional page. I don't normally post a lot of my houses that are coming for sale or things like that. But again, he kind of talked a lot about, his name was Terry Rice. Terry Rice. And he kind of talked a lot about like creating engaging posts, and then having, he did the scroll stoppers. And basically what a scroll stopper is, like if you're going to post something, you would want to ask like an intriguing question or like a pattern, like a thought process on your LinkedIn. So it might be something like, here are 3 unique ways to pay less for a home. And so it's basically like, so if somebody's scrolling through LinkedIn, kind of like we scroll through everything, right? It's something that's kind of like a flashy going like, wait, let me stop and read this article or read what Stephanie has to say, to get you to stop. And again, he talked a lot about, again, your hashtags and not, overusing hashtags. And then also like action items was a big thing he talked about. So one of the things was like, think of 10 questions your audience has, determine common themes, experiment with different frameworks, leveraging the engaging post blueprint, post twice a week for the next month. Those were kind of things he gave us, I guess, more of like things to do. And then another thing that he talked about was like optimizing your profile. I have to go back and optimize my profile, I'm not going to lie. So talking about like your photo, your headline, your website link, and then about section. I wasn't quite sure when he was talking about like underneath where you can click on it to take it directly to your other website. So that's something I have to work on as well, but just making sure like your headshot is up to date, it's normal, it's your face, not like somebody else's and a lot going on in the background. And then the background photo is something that's relevant to you. The banner part that goes across on your LinkedIn, just making sure that's clear, it's relevant, it's kind of like focus on maybe what you do or something that's relevant to you. And then, do you want me to tell you my favorite speaker?
Yep, and then we'll wrap up
Okay.
here because then,
Okay.
because we got another group.
It's Apple Pancake. So
Yep.
that was my favorite speaker. If you were there and you got to hear Kevin Brown, I'm sure you all felt the same way because he was amazing. I don't think anybody that would have been there didn't probably think the same thing because his story was just profound and it was just absolutely amazing.
I don't think there was a dry eye.
I don't think there was a dry eye. I mean, I sat next to Jennifer and she was bawling the whole time. So it was such a great, I mean, everybody, I think you could hear a pin drop while he spoke. I mean, he was funny and he was just engaging and he was just a really wonderful speaker. He is on Instagram under Hero Speaker, if you want to look him up. He does post like motivational snippets and, you can see a picture of his son, Josh, he's on there. And so, yeah, he was great. He's my favorite by far.
Awesome. Let's just do Kevin and then kind of a 1 point and then we'll.
But tag or for Jimmy Burgess, there's another thing that you talked about. Do spotlight videos with local businesses that people that you may know. The reason you could tag them at that point, because the algorithm picks it up, because people on their page may not know you do real estate. So it's a great idea. Do spotlight videos. Also, put your client testimonial on video. Put that on your Google business page. You know, people see that, see the real person, and they see the connectability at that point.
Awesome. Renee?
Yes, I was definitely touched because, yeah, I too have gone on a few Disney cruises compared to some others. And man, and my daughter too had like 10 brain surgeries. So it was like she resonated with Cinderella. And so, well, I will say that a lot of these points that are mentioned are very, very important because I teach principles and practices for Metro Community College. And these young, I mean, I've been teaching 17 years and I have never seen as many 19-year-old, 17-year-old students. They're not even ready to be a realtor yet. So we have millennials coming in way earlier than I came in, and I came in at 28. So we need to get on this video. We have to get on this, all of these different points that are being made on video and links in social media and LinkedIn and Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok. Yeah, we got to we got to get on it. And I mean, I just thought it was phenomenal all around as far as all of the different techniques that they were teaching in the classes and things at the convention.
Awesome. Thank you. Ty, wrap us up.
So Chelsea Pikes again, I think she had some great takeaways. She said faces take you places. I hate to use my face in videos, but we really need to use our face. And she said, don't use jargon. Buyers and sellers don't call themselves buyers and sellers, which is something that I feel like I need to work on as well. We need to just be more relatable to them and the you know, just get away from the jargon. And Kevin Brown was my favorite speaker as well. And he said, your past is a reference and not a residence. And that stuck with me. Like, we have to get out of our past trauma and keep moving forward. And he also said, people are in your world by assignment and not by coincidence. And
that was a great point. I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the things that he said that your past is not just a reference point and not your residence. Because when he started in his speech that, you know, when he was around 13 years old, he didn't really say it, but he must have been molested or sexually abused when he was younger. And so by the time he was in high school, he was homeless, living out of a car that he was given. And so, you know, that was just a reference point. He kept on dragging this 13-year-old with him the whole time. And so finally he had gotten applied for a job for sales, even though he had no skills. And so this guy gave him a chance. Well, this mentor kept on teaching him, but he goes, at some point, he kept on just bringing back the past of this 13-year-old boy. And that's where he brought up, he goes, you know, I understand you have this past, but again, your past can only be a reference point. It can't be a residence where you stay at. And so that really clicked in his head to then move him beyond and push him forward in life. And so that was a great point. So well, I appreciate you guys. We got one more panel for the remaining time. Thank you guys. We've got Julie, Tim, Trisha, Mike, and Andy. Hopefully you guys took different classes. Is it first time for anybody here going to a convention? I think, cause that's your second one, right?
Yeah. it's
Yeah.
my second.
Perfect. All right, Trisha, why don't we start with you? You did a little bit different. You did some commercial classes too.
No surprise, I
yep.
have to be different.
Yep.
I'm not sure this is on, so hopefully you can hear me and I'm sorry for my voice. Yeah, so I do commercial as well as residential. And so I spent some time in the commercial classes, which meant that I didn't go to the residential ones. I did go to one residential. It was the Sherry Johnson 5 listings in 30 days, because don't know about you, but I could do that or use that. There were 2 things that I had takeaways from there. The first was that I thought was original, I hadn't heard before, was host your client's housewarming party. I thought that was a great idea. And I just closed something on Thursday and I made that offer to them and they're taking me up on it. So I thought that was kind of cool. And so basically I'm taking care of their invites, which guess what? I get a whole list of names with email addresses and everything and phone numbers. I'm taking care of the setup, the food, and I get to add those humans to my database. So I thought that was a really great idea. The other thing that I took away from that particular talk was converting FSBOs. And I, in the past, when I've attempted this, I was kind of trying to get that listing appointment and she's like, don't do that. Don't try to get the list. Instead, try to get an interview for a listing, as a listing agent. And so she offered 2 great questions. How much will you save if your home isn't sold? Which I thought was a great question. And the other one is, asking those questions, how many people have visited? Do you have any offers? And then, and they're saying, oh, lots of people have visited. I don't have any offers. And then the question is, want to know why they aren't coming back? Let's make an appointment and talk about that. So getting that listing interview. So I thought those were 2 great takeaways.
Awesome.
And I
Perfect.
can talk about the commercial stuff next.
Okay, awesome. Kim?
Well, obviously Kevin Brown resonated with all of us. One thing you can do is follow him, but he's also got a book, Unleashing Your Hero. And you can also watch all of his videos that he has posted online. So it's something, if you weren't there, just Google him and you can see a lot more of the videos that were up there and get a feel for why we were all captivated by this gentleman and how great he did. So I'm not going to cover any more on him just because everybody else has. I was in Sherry Johnson's and it was the Gold Mine Pipeline. It's a lead worksheet to keep organized. And you can go and put in www.goldminepipeline.com and you can get this sheet and it keeps your listing and your contacts that you're working with in front of you, so you can work it like a to-do list. And it's one of the things that you can also break down how much volume and money that you have on the table with that, to keep track of that, to know what you're going to continue to make that list grow over the year. And as you keep it up to date, it will continue to bring you in revenue.
Awesome. Andy?
All right, well, thought this might happen being on the second panel. I sat there anxiously while the first panel talked and took about 80% of my list, but it was all great takeaways. So I'm gonna try to take.
We're excited about the other 20% that you
What's
have.
that? Yeah. Luckily, I'm prepared for once. But they're all great takeaways. I'm gonna try to take a little bit different approach, do some more high level stuff that I took away. The importance of video in 2023 was just hammered home by so many of the speakers in the sessions that I was at. And I think the reason we were all at the same sessions because they were broker approved credit. So that might be a piece of it too. But that was just hammered home by so many of the panelists, and even I think Christy and Gino talked about it as well. But one thing I took was from Ving Yang.
Yeah.
He was great. He was the keynote speaker the first day. Unfortunately, Kevin Brown showed up the next day and kind of stole his thunder. But one thing he talked about that I've heard before, but it resonated with me, was you're a direct reflection of the top 5 people you hang out with or you associate with commonly. And I know in smaller communities or just in different cliques we run in, you're guilty by association, or you get lifted up by the people you hang out with. And he talked about how he wanted, I struggling to remember exactly what it was. Was it archery?
Archery.
He wanted to be an expert in archery. So he reached out to Olympian archery competitor in Australia and sent messages to the guy weekly and just got ghosted. And finally, he just kept doing it for over a year, and they called the guy and the guy gave him his time. So don't ever be afraid to ask anybody for help if you want to be an expert in a subject, because if you bug them long enough and hard enough, a lot of times they'll give in and they'll be generous with their time. So I have a couple more, but we'll keep it moving.
Perfect. Mike?
Well, like you said, almost everything was taken. I think the biggest thing I took away from it, and I think it's been kind of touched on, but every class you went into is they talked about consistency being important with video and whatnot. After the Jimmy Burgess class, I was kind of trying to get out, and somebody said, you know, how long does it really take to have an effect, to have social media have an effect if you do it consistently? And he made the comment, he said, about as long as it takes someone to get in shape. And that kind of resonated with me. It also took away a lot of hope. I'm never going to get any better. But I think that consistency was the biggest thing. And then the one thing that really wasn't said in class or anything, but I was going up or down the escalator. I'm not sure, it was Tuesday and I wasn't feeling great that day, but I think it was the desert air or something. I'm not sure, but I'd missed Kevin Brown, and I was going up the escalator, and Sherry Johnson was in front of me and made a comment. I really enjoyed your class. And she kind of looked, she goes, Omaha, huh? And I said, yeah, I'm not part of the real Omaha that's doing all those wonderful things up there. I'm just kind of in the back. And she said, well, thank you. She said, you know, none of this works if you don't do it. And that kind of hit home, because I think as a profession, realtors' biggest obstacle is consistency and doing something. You know, we all have great plans. I'm as guilty as anyone coming back from convention every year and having great plans and then never really getting to it because I'm busy getting caught up. And, you know, about June, I'm like, oh, shit, I forgot that. So those are the two biggest things that haven't already been spoken of.
All right, Julie?
Right. I'm glad I'm last because everything has been taken. One thing I noticed this morning on the Kevin Brown video is what he did on the video is exactly what he said to us in Vegas. So it just goes to show you the consistency, knowing what you're going to say. It doesn't have to be canned, because when he spoke to us last week, it sounded fresh. And so we just need to work on that consistency. I did go to Sherry Johnson, and she said, make your goals your passwords, so they're always top of mind. And to say your passwords out loud, say your goals out loud every morning so that they are top of mind.
And it just popped in a memory of Kevin Brown. The mentor that he ended up having a lifetime relationship with this guy, which there was a point in time where he pulled him in and said, hey, you know, Kevin, just want to let you know, I just got diagnosed with stage 4 something, you know, so they're giving me about 6 months to live, you know, but he goes, it's the power of the mind that's going to help me overcome this. And he ended up living 10 years later, or 10 years longer, just from the power of, you know, being optimistic and focusing on what he wants instead of the demise that, you know, he could have. And the one takeaway that I had with that is that when about 10 years later, he called, he goes, you know, hey, Kevin, you know, this cancer's come back for the 5th time. I think this time I'm not ready to fight the fight I've been doing the last 10 years. And so can you come hurry up? And I'd like to see you. And so he went and visited him, packed his bags, got there by the next day, you know, walked in, he had his 2 daughters there with him, and he welcomed him. He's like, you know, son, thank you for coming. It was just, they had that type of relationship. It was like a second dad for him. He said, hey, let me pull you out on, you know, I want to talk to you. Let's go out on the front porch. And so they were just talking about life and things like that. And then Kevin kind of alluded to the point like, hey, you know, I'm so glad that you're a mentor. I mean, I've made it in life because of you. And he stopped and he's like, that's the one piece of thing I want to leave you with, is that if I could leave you with anything, don't think that you've ever made it. I don't ever want to hear those words come from your mouth again. He goes, you need to continually, because if you're not improving, you're just going to fall away. And so you don't ever use that you've ever made it. I just thought that was a huge lesson from there too. So that just reminded me of that. Well, we're down to just the last few minutes. What's one more thing that you guys, if you have one, if you don't, that's fine too. Anything else?
On your tombstone for end of life, decide what you want it to
Put your
say
microphone.
and then to live.
Oh.
On your tombstone, decide what you want it to say and then live it.
Opportunities are not lost, they're taken by someone else.
Yeah, that was from Sherry Johnson, right?
Yep. One thing that Kevin Brown talked about, I know everybody's talked about him, but he was that good. Is just be present in the moment. And we have all this technology that's great, but the power of people and the power of personal connection should never be lost. His whole life's defined by a couple random moments where somebody was just kind. And then I also wanted to end with the when you're playing blackjack and the dealer's showing 6, it's not always the gift that you think it is.
Yeah.
Never seen so many 4s and 5s in a shoe in my life.
How do you follow that? I don't know. I had enough eye cream for the week that I don't need it again for another year. But, so if you need eye cream, go to Vegas. Obviously they kept thinking I needed it, but
They were handing it to me too.
oh thank goodness.
I needed it.
Yeah.
The one thing, and I'll go back, the poor gentleman that fell off the stage, I was sticking that one out because I thought that there was going to be a message in there somewhere. And there was. Besides being careful, your surroundings, but Andrew never even blinked an eye when he fell.
Oh, is
fell
Andrew
off.
them then?
No, it was Alan that fell off the
Oh.
stage. So he just looked at him. He's like, he's fine. He's a basketball player. And he jumped right back up. But beside the point, it was about continuing your marketing and making sure that, even though you are cutting maybe some of your budgets, don't cut your marketing. And also be aware of what you portray and become involved in your city.
Awesome.
So just a couple things from the commercial stuff. Rod Santomassimo, it was the speaker from the Massimo Group. He did prospecting playbook and leveraging AI in your prospecting playbook. I really liked a couple of things that he said. The first one was be the authority, not the commodity. One is essential and the other is non-essential. So really understand what your opening statements are and how you introduce yourself and have that 30-second elevator speech really ready. And his whole thing is with that in the context of opening statements and 30-second elevator speeches, he uses the Don Miller storyboard model, the many, we, and so that. So here's an example. Many multifamily owners are struggling with increased operating costs. I offer 5 strategies to reduce opening costs so that my clients can optimize their returns. So there's the many, the we, and so that, and then have a compelling response. This one really hit home. How is the market? How many times do we get asked that? And we say things like, great, it's really interesting, or something like that, those one-word answers. He said, start with, I'm really glad you asked that, and then give them 3 stats, and the numbers should end with an odd number. So tell them, what are the mortgage rates today? And make sure it, ends in an odd 7.2. It's not 7%. You know what I'm saying, or 7.3. What's happening with your talked about mortgage rates or the inventory, that kind of stuff, but use numbers that end in odd numbers. Never say 70% is 69.3. So the idea is you sound like an authority and credibility. So I really like that. And lastly, I loved Kevin Brown. Sorry about that. But I have to tell you, my son is autistic. And so much of that thing hit home with me and really grabbed me, particularly the couple of things. So let me just, the rent on this life is due every day. So I thought that was a beautiful statement. And then can you look in the mirror and see the faces of the people who made you better, helped you never quit and never quit on you? And who do you see? And then who looks in the mirror and sees your face? So I thought those were really powerful statements.
Yep, perfect. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. Let's give them a round of applause. Oh, thank you. Well, I appreciate you guys giving your comments and stuff. There are so many takeaways. We'll try to put some things together. I guess I'll leave it with this. The one thing that he had on there, he goes, everybody used to say, hey, there's, it's people that do things are like ordinary people that do extraordinary things. But he said, and Vince sent out this quote that heroes are not ordinary people who do extraordinary things. They are in fact extraordinary people who choose not to be ordinary. And so again, go follow him. Obviously, he was a highlight of the event, but we appreciate you guys and we'll see you guys. Oh, sorry, Good Guy Award.
super quick, one last thing. Next week, I just want to touch base. Gino will be here at the office next Thursday, 9 a.m. It will be like it's a substitute for our sales meeting next week. So make sure that you're here. You won't want to miss it.
Except on Tuesday, we will have Shannon Salem as our top agent
Yes,
speaker.
And Shannon Salem will be here Tuesday. And then Lori Paul is actually spending time with her family right now. So she wanted to thank Rich Edwards for nominating her. Super appreciative. And then she sent me this next little blurb about the next good guy. As we all know, this person works nonstop and is so passionate about real estate and helping her clients. She not only helps her clients, but is always willing to share her ideas and thoughts with other agents. Her door is always open. She has been on national committees for BHHS and always top of her game for marketing and social media. Outside of helping her clients and agents, she volunteers for the Taylor Leck Foundation and the J Foundation, both near and dear to her heart. So thank you, Megan Owens, for being such a good guy and great woman.
All right, awesome. Congratulate Megan Owens when you see her. All right, thank you, guys.